Hello everybody, welcome to the ABC Alyson's Beginner Card Making. This is the third in the series and this is called Colour Me Happy. We started with basic white cardstock and the lovely designer series paper pack which has all the colours. So what I'm going to introduce now is the cardstock in the colours. Stampin' Up! You can buy a pack of each colour individually, or they do multi-packs where there are 10 colours and you can get 2 each of all 10 colours, so obviously 20 in a pack, which is a great way to introduce yourself so you don't have to spend a lot of money buying colours that you might not use. This is the Bold Brights, which of course I bought because it coordinates with the Bold Bright 6x6 designer series paper that I put on my original recommendation. But of course there's the subtles, there's the regals, the choice is yours. There's also the in colours, so everything is a personal choice. I'm just a Bold Brights kind of person, so that was what I chose to use as a sample to show you how. So these are the cardstocks. They've got a really nice thickness to them, and it's called a snap when you bend it like this, and you can actually hear it crack. So these are the colors. I'm going to show you how to make 3 colorful cards with it using the designer series paper, and I'm also try to stick to the colors that were in the 8 little spots that I had recommended. Of course, if you've bought other colors for your, I recommended you could also start with 3 large stamp pads if you've done that, or you then want to start investing. What I'm also going to do, I know the first one was to try to keep the costs as low as possible. I'm now going to give you the ordering code for the bone folder and the Stampin' Up! Snips scissors, because if you're going to do the job, if the job's worth doing, it's worth doing well. So why not use the best tools possible that are out there? Excuse me. So let me pop those off to one side and we will get started. The first card actually doesn't use the designer series paper, so we'll bring in our handy dandy paper trimmer and wreck the joint, Alyson. And oh, excuse me. Each sheet of cardstock comes, and it's 8.5 by 11. So in order to get a standard card base, we're going to cut it in half. So we're going to line it up at 5 on the paper trim, 5.5 on the paper trimmer, and then we're going to use the darker colored cutting blade and slice it in half. So now we've got 2 pieces, 2 cards. It's excellent. Then we're going to line this up at 4.25, which of course is half of the 8.5, and then we're going to use the lighter colored blade and score that. And then when we fold it in half, you've got your standard base, and like I said, I'm going to recommend the bone folder. What I thought was, as we go through this series, if every now and then I put a suggestion for an extra tool, they're not awfully expensive, and it's nice that you can just get one each time you order something, and then it's not trying to buy everything up front all at once. So that's the card. This is the card that actually we're going to be making. It would be nice to actually show you which one it is. And then the basic white is a 1/4 sheet of cardstock cut down by 1/4 inch. So instead of being 5.5 by 4.25, this is 5 by 4, and then it just layers on to the front like that, and you get the nice border around. So as we're not cutting that, I'll put it off to one side. As always, of course, this is the link to my website, so you can go and you can shop. Up in the top left hand corner when you log on, that it says shop with me. So a big thank you to everybody who has already placed an order. I was really quite touched that you had enough faith in me to go ahead and order the things that I had recommended, so that's great. And if you haven't, or you've just joined in on this one, at the bottom in the description there are directions and measurements and sizes of everything, and I'm going to keep linking each of the videos in the series. So as this is number 3, at the bottom of this one you will find 1 and 2. Okay, let's get going. So we're going to use our Sentimental, we're not going to use anything if I can't find it, Sentimental Park, which was the stamp set that I had recommended. And everything comes on acetate, and it's the clear polymer stamps. And we're going to use the D block like we had spoken before. Take it off the acetate, pop it on to the clear block. And then we're going to use the Granny Apple Green and stamp it full strength. And then, as always, it's a paper towel on a plate, because all of these inks are water soluble and they will wash off really easily. So I'm going to pop that one back on, peel it off the block and pop it back onto the acetate. And then I'm going to take the leaves, and if you've watched the previous ones, you'll know we do what's called stamping off. So we stamp it full strength, we bring in a scratch of paper and stamp full strength off once, and then because it's really easy to see through, we stamp a lighter version of it on the bottom. And then we're going to do the same with the flowers. So I'll close the green. I had recommended a set of spots, which is what these are, but as I'm a demonstrator, I do tend to use the bigger pad, so I'm going to go ahead and use that in this instance. But of course the spot, as you know, as I've promised you, works just as well. So we'll ink that up full strength, give it a wash in the water so it's nice and clean, peel it off the block and put it away. And then we're going to do the inside of the flowers. So we'll stamp them, we'll ink them up full strength, stamp them off on a scratch of paper, line them up because it's easy to see through, and then we've got the lighter refrain in the middle. And we'll do exactly the same with the big flower. So we'll just pop it full strength into the corner, quick wash, pop it on the block, the inside one, stamp it off. Oops. Ooh, let's see where we should put this one. Line it up, and then it fills it in. It's almost like colouring, which is great. And then what we're going to say is let's celebrate. So we'll pop let's celebrate onto the block, and we'll do that with the green. And then the other one says your anniversary, so we'll pop that one away. Find your anniversary. It's hard to see sometimes when they're clear. And we'll do that in the green. Just stamp it gently. No, we're going to do that in the pink, Alyson. Good job, I stopped myself. I mean, it wouldn't have been bad to have the whole greeting in green, but the thing is we're trying to go with the colours, aren't we? So let's make it nice and colourful. Let's celebrate your anniversary. So wash it off with the water, pop everything back, close the ink pads so you don't cross-contaminate them accidentally. And then we'll get the glue, which is what I had recommended, because it's a little forgiving. And then we're going to pop it onto the card, and we're doing this one landscape, of course, as you can see. Quick and easy. That's really rather nice. So the next one is using the cardstock and the designer series paper. So let me just scooch those out of the way. And this is the card we're going to make. So it's already cut at 5.5 by 8.5. We're going to line it up at 4 1/4 and score it. The white I have pre-cut, so that's 5 by 3 3/4, and then the pieces we're going to cut, this was half, it's 6 by 6, so this is half of it, of course, being 3 by 6, but we only need this to be, let me just measure that quickly, 3.5. So it's going to be 1.5 by 3.5. So we'll line this up at 3.5 and cut that off. And then of course, because we know it's 3, we can just go ahead and cut that in half at 1.5. And then this one, we need to cut the 1.5 strip down the whole thing, and then cut it at 3.5. So we've got 3 pieces which are 3.5 by 1.5, and we've got all these little pieces extra which we'll put back into the pack, and we can make something else with that. Oh, I've knocked my paper, or I've knocked my camera, I'm not quite sure which one. So let's pop that quickly out of the way, and then what we're going to do is add glue to the back of these. And the best idea when you're trying to put things equally shared out is to put the middle one in first, because it's sort of easier to gauge the middle. I'm actually going to use my grid paper, but you can just eyeball the middle. And then the other ones, you can equally space them between the two. That makes it a little bit easier to successfully get them spaced out, so you don't have too much of white at one end and then have to reposition them all. The next little piece is, this is 3 by 1.5. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out the flower again and do the same stamping off principle. We'll put the thick flower, we'll get the little spot of the coastal cabana. So we'll do the thick in the corner. Give it a little wipe, pop that back on the acetate. Then we'll get the inside, same as we did with the big flowers on the other one. And then we'll find the scratch paper and take the thick off that, and then we can just line it up and press it on, and ta-da, we've coloured it. So pop that back onto the acetate. Oh, I don't know why I'm putting the lid on that for. And then we'll take the thanks and we'll ink that up. And then we just need to get some of the dimensionals. I know I had recommended that you buy dimensionals, but I did let you in on the secret that I get most of mine from my paper pumpkin supplies. So we'll put one in each corner. Oops. And then peel the backing papers off real quickly, which don't seem to want to come off really quickly. And pop that on, and then we'll go ahead and fold the Coastal Cabana cardstock. A nice little wiggle of glue. And then pop it into place. There we have a really nice thank you card. I did actually do a Bermuda Bay one. It's exactly the same card, so you could do this card with all of the colors in the cardstock pack, because each cardstock pack has a coordinating designer series paper, and then you would just need the inks to make them look the same. So last card coming up. So we have, let me move this out of the way so we look a bit neater and tidier. So I'm actually going to be using Pacific Point, which is not one of the ink colours, but I've got around that by using the basic grey, which is one of the spot colours. So again, it's a piece of cardstock and it is 8.5 by 5.5. So we're going to line it up at the 4.25, oops, it's not in the shot. Line it up at the 4.25 mark and score it. And then we've got a piece, half a sheet, it's 3 by 6. So we only need it to be 5.5. So I'm going to line it up at 5.5 and snip that little piece off, which I'm going to keep. And you'll see, we see how here it's the extra. So it's always good to keep your little scraps. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 3/4 of an inch on the Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer. 3/4 of an inch is at this side. And I'm just going to slice that down because we're going to use that the other side to make it look like, well, it is 2 different pieces of cardstock, but it all came from one sheet. So we'll pop that quickly off to one side. It's scored at 4.25, so we'll give it a nice sharp crease with the bone folder. We've cut this to be 5.5, so we will attach that to the outer edge. Just line it up, and then we're going to put this on that side. So we just have to remember which side we need to put the glue. Oops. So we'll quickly run that up. It doesn't really matter how far across you do it. You can do it edge to edge, or you can overlap it the whole way. It's just so it gives a little bit of difference. And now what we're going to do is, because this is a pretty dark cardstock, you'll need to have something to write on so it can be seen. So the best trick is to add a piece of basic white cardstock. And you'll remember when we made the green card that we cut it down to be 5.25 by 4. That's the same layer size that we're going to pop in here. It's just then when you come to write on it, your lucky recipient is actually able to see what you've sent them. And then, because we don't, well, in the pack of 8 spots, there was not the Pacific Point ink, but there was a basic grey. So what we're going to do is we are going to put, let's celebrate. Do that really quickly. Give it a wash in the water. And then let's get the U. Wash that and put it off. It's always important to remember to wash your stamps, because you would hate to inadvertently plonk it into the next colour, especially if it was darker. And then this little piece was what came off the bottom, you'll remember, and it's just cut to size to fit where the greeting is going. Put a little bit of glue on there. And line it up with the edge. If it's a little bit too long, we can take the snips and quickly cut it down to size. And then we just need, again, some dimensionals, 1 in each corner. Quickly peel off the backing papers. And that's the 3rd card in the Colour Me Happy series. I can just see there's a little edge there, so I'm going to trim it before I stick it on. So there you have it. We're moving on to coloured cardstock. So we've got the original cards, we've got the ones we've just done. Somewhere out there, there is a song. I have absolutely no idea where I managed to put the other cards. So there they are. Basically 6 cards, because we'll not really count the Bermuda Bay one. I just made that as a sample to show you the colours. That is the using the cardstock pack with the designer series paper. I hope you're enjoying it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe. If you've liked it, please like it. If you have any questions, there is the comment section below where all the measurements will be. So drop me a comment, ask me a question, or feel free to email me. I will be linking in, like I said, the first 2 videos. And last but not least, thanks so much for watching.